I need to tell you something. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what I saw, what I recorded, and what I can't stop watching even though every frame of it makes my hand shake. 6 months ago, I was part of a 4-person documentary crew that went into the Cascade Wilderness to film a routine Sasquatch investigation. Routine. That's what we called it. We'd done a dozen of these before, trek into the woods, set up cameras, record some ambiguous footage, interview locals, package it for streaming platforms that eat up cryptic content. Easy money. Safe work. 3 of us never came back. I'm the only one who made it out, and I'm not even sure made it is the right phrase. I'm here, yes. I'm breathing. I'm speaking to you now. But part of me is still in those trees, still hiding in that rotted log, still watching the footage play frame by frame in my mind every time I close my eyes. The official report called it a wilderness accident. Possible bear attack. Remains scattered and unrecovered due to terrain and scavenger activity. The case is closed. The families held memorials. I attended all 3, standing in the back, unable to speak, unable to tell them what really happened, because I'm still not sure anyone would believe me. But I have the recording. The last recording. The authorities found it with me. They watched it, they filed it, and they buried it. They told me never to release it, never to speak about the specific details, never to compromise the integrity of the ongoing investigation. But there is no investigation. There's just silence and bureaucratic walls, and the cold understanding that some things aren't supposed to be explained. I made a copy before I handed over the original camera. I've watched it 437 times. I know because I keep count. I don't know why I keep watching. Maybe I'm looking for something I missed. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself it wasn't real. Maybe I just need to see their faces again, even in those final moments of terror. Our crew was small, but experienced. There was Marcus, the filmmaker. 10 years in documentary work, 2 Emmy nominations, a man who could find narrative in anything. He had this way of making you believe in the story, even when you knew it was probably nothing. Then there was Stephanie, our sound engineer, and the most skeptical person I've ever met. She'd roll her eyes at every unexplained noise, and spent most shoots reading paperbacks in the van. But she was brilliant with audio. Could isolate sounds I didn't even know existed. Our biologist was Dr. Allenchen, actual PhD, actual research credentials, a man who took Sasquatch seriously not because he believed in monsters, but because he believed in undiscovered species. He approached it like science, not spectacle. And then there was me, camera operator, the eye behind the lens, the person who captured everything and understood nothing. Before I go further, I need you to do something for me. If you're watching this, if you're listening, please hit the like button and subscribe. I know that sounds strange given what I'm about to tell you, but I need this story to reach as many people as possible. I need witnesses. I need people who will remember what happened out there if something happens to me. Because I still don't feel safe. I still don't feel alone. And if this video disappears, if I disappear, at least someone will know the truth. The expedition was supposed to last 7 days. We'd gotten a tip from a logging company about unusual activity in a section of old-growth forest near Mount Hood. Tree structures, vocalizations, prints. Standard stuff. We arrived on a Tuesday in late September. The weather was perfect, cool, clear, that crisp autumn air that makes you feel alive and alert. We set up base camp in a clearing about 3 miles from the nearest logging road. Far enough to feel isolated, close enough to bail if we needed to. Days 1 through 3 were exactly what we expected. We set up trail cameras, recorded ambient forest sounds, hiked to locations where prints had been reported. We found some interesting impressions in soft mud, large, humanoid, but nothing conclusive. Marcus interviewed me and Alan about what we were seeing, building that narrative tension he was so good at crafting. Stephanie captured beautiful audio. With knocks in the distance, branch breaks, the kind of sound that could be anything but feel like something when you're alone in the woods. On night 3, we played back the day's audio and found something unusual. Stephanie isolated it for us, played it through her best headphones. It was a vocalization, deep resonant, not quite animal but not quite human either. It lasted maybe 4 seconds, rising and falling in a way that felt structured, almost linguistic. Alan leaned forward, asked her to play it again. She did. 3 times. 4. That's not a bear, Alan said quietly. Not a cougar. Not an elk. Not a person either, Stephanie added, though she sounded less certain than usual. Marcus grinned, smelling a good story beat. So what is it? None of us answered. Day 4 is when things shifted. We woke to find our camp had been approached during the night. Footprints in the soft earth around our tents, large and clear and deliberate. They formed a circle. A perfect circle. Like something had walked around us while we slept, studying us, measuring us. Alan took photographs, measurements, casts. 16-inch prints. 5 toes. A stride length that suggested something over 7 feet tall. But it was the pattern that bothered him. He kept shaking his head, muttering that territorial animals don't move like this, don't investigate like this. This is observational behavior, he said. Curiosity. We spent that day hiking to higher ground, setting up new camera positions. We were on edge now, the easy confidence gone. Stephanie stopped reading her book. Marcus kept the camera rolling even during downtime. I noticed my hands were steadier than they should have been, adrenaline keeping me focused, keeping me sharp. That night, we reviewed the trail camera footage. 3 cameras had captured something at 2:47 a.m., a large figure moving through the frame, bipedal, covered in dark hair. But the footage was brief, obscured by branches. Thermal imaging showed a heat signature consistent with a large primate. Alan played it frame by frame, zooming in until pixels became meaningless shapes. It's looking at the camera, he whispered. See? It pauses. It knows what it is. We also found something else in the audio Stephanie had been recording overnight. Breathing. Close to the microphones, so close she'd placed them just outside our tents. 4 hours. Something had stood near us, breathing, listening to us sleep. That's when the argument started. Stephanie wanted to leave immediately. This wasn't normal animal behavior, she said. This was stalking. Marcus wanted one more day, one clear shot, something definitive. Alan was torn, the scientist in him fascinated, the human in him afraid. I stayed quiet, but I was with Stephanie. Something felt fundamentally wrong about those hours of breathing, about being circled while we were vulnerable. We compromised. One more day. Then we'd pack up and hike out. Day 5. Morning light filtered through the canopy like it always does, indifferent and beautiful. We decided to check the clearing where most of the prints converged, a meadow about a mile north, surrounded by dense timber. The plan was simple. Set up cameras, observe, document, leave by afternoon. The hike there felt wrong from the start. The forest was too quiet. No birds. No insects. Just our footsteps and breathing, and the occasional crack of a branch under our boots. Alan kept stopping, tilting his head, listening. Something displaced the wildlife, he said. Territorial dominance. Whatever's here, the other animals are giving it space. The clearing, when we reached it, was exactly as described, a natural meadow, maybe 50 yards across, ringed by old-growth Douglas firs. Beautiful. Serene. And it felt like a trap. I can't explain it better than that. Every instinct I had screamed that we were being funneled here, that this open space was exactly where something wanted us. Marcus started setting up his shot. Stephanie positioned microphones. Alan walked the perimeter, examining the ground. I stood in the center with my camera, doing slow pans of the treeline, trying to capture the scale and atmosphere. That's when Alan broke protocol. He walked ahead, past the clearing's edge, into the trees. He was following prints, fresh ones, deep impressions in the soft earth. Marcus called after him, but Alan waved him off, said he'd just be a minute. He wanted to see where they led. We waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. Then we saw it. At the treeline, maybe 60 yards from where we stood, something stood between 2 massive firs. It was tall, over 8 feet, I guess. Covered in dark brown hair, matted and thick. But it wasn't the size that made my breath catch. It was the posture. Upright. Shoulders broad and squared. arms hanging at its sides in a way that felt deliberate, controlled. And it was watching us, not looking in our direction, watching us, focused, intent. "Marcus," Stephanie whispered. "Marcus, do you see?" "I see it," he breathed. "Camera's rolling. Don't move." It stood there for maybe 10 seconds. Then, without hurry, without fear, it stepped backward into the shadows and was gone. Alan came crashing back through the undergrowth, his face pale. "There are more," he said, voice shaking. "I saw at least 3 more. Different sizes. There," he stopped, struggling for words. "They're coordinating. The prints, they're spreading out, circling this clearing." That's when we heard it. From multiple directions. Not growls. Not roars. Vocalizations, low resonant, almost harmonic. They were communicating. Calling to each other. And we were in the middle. "We need to leave," Stephanie said. "Now." We grabbed our gear, not everything, just cameras and essentials, and started back the way we came. But the forest had changed. What had been a clear trail now felt like a maze. Marcus led, Alan behind him, me in the middle with my camera, still rolling, because that's what I've been trained to do. Document everything, even your own terror. Stephanie took up the rear, headphones on, monitoring audio in real time. "They're pacing us," she said, voice tight. "Left side, right side. Parallel movement. There, oh God, Marcus, they're cutting us off." And they were. Ahead of us, through the trees, I saw movement, something massive crossing our path, deliberately positioning itself between us and the trail back to camp. Marcus stopped so suddenly Alan nearly collided with him. "We go around," Marcus said. "East. We'll loop back." But east took us deeper into denser forest, farther from camp, farther from help. The vocalizations continued, closer now, more frequent. I kept filming, camera swiveling to catch glimpses of movement in the periphery. Massive shapes keeping pace with us, sometimes visible for a second, then gone behind ancient trunks and dense undergrowth. Alan's voice cracked when he spoke. "They're herding us. This is cooperative hunting behavior. They're herding us like prey." That's when Stephanie screamed. Something had grabbed her pack, yanked her backward with such force she left the ground. I spun, camera capturing everything. Her hands clawing at the straps, her boots kicking empty air, and behind her, towering over her, one of them. Massive. So much bigger up close than I'd imagined. Dark eyes locked on her, mouth slightly open, breath visible in the cool air. "I need to stop here. I need you to understand something. I'm not insane. I know what I saw. I know what the camera captured. But I also know how impossible it sounds, how easy it would be to dismiss me as traumatized, as confused, as fabricating. So I need to ask you, comment below. Tell me what you think was really out there. Tell me if you've ever heard of coordinated hunting behavior in unknown primates. Tell me if you think I'm lying, if you think I imagine it, if you think there's some rational explanation for what happened next. Because I've spent 6 months searching for one, and I found nothing that makes sense." Marcus lunged toward Stephanie, shouting something I couldn't hear over my own pulse thundering in my ears. The creature, I'm calling it that because I don't know what else to call it, dropped her. Just released its grip and stepped back, disappearing into the forest. So quickly, I barely saw it move. Stephanie scrambled to her feet, sobbing, and we ran. We scattered. I don't know who made that decision. Maybe all of us at once, pure panic, overriding reason. Marcus went north. Alan veered west. Stephanie sprinted east. And I ran south, camera clutched against my chest, branches tearing at my clothes and face, lungs burning, legs pumping until they felt like they'd give out. I don't know how long I ran. Minutes. Hours. Time stopped meaning anything. Eventually, I collapsed behind a fallen cedar, gasping, shaking, trying to be silent while my body screamed for oxygen. I pulled the camera up, checked it. Still recording. Battery at 40%. Memory card at 60% capacity. I pointed it outward toward the forest and waited. For 17 minutes, I know, because the time code is burned into my memory. I filmed them moving through the trees. Multiple individuals. 5, maybe 6. Different sizes. Moving with purpose. Searching. communicating with those low vocalizations that rose and fell like language, like conversation. They were looking for us. I watched through the viewfinder as one of them stopped near Alan's dropped backpack, picked it up, examined it with hands that looked too human, too dexterous. It turned the pack over, unzipped a pocket, removed Alan's field notebook, and flipped through it. Actually flipped through it. Like it understood what it was looking at. Another one picked up Stephanie's headphones from where they'd fallen, held them up to its ear, tilted its head, listening to the recording she'd been monitoring. Then it looked directly at where I was hiding. Even though I was 30 yards away, even though I was behind deadfall and dense brush. It knew I was there. I stopped breathing. The camera kept rolling, catching everything. The creature took one step toward me, then another. Its movements were fluid, silent despite its size. No branches snapped. No leaves crunched. It moved like smoke, like shadow. It stopped maybe 10 feet from my hiding spot. I could see it perfectly through the viewfinder. The texture of its hair, the intelligence in its eyes, the way its chest rose and fell with controlled breathing. It lowered itself, almost to a crouch, and looked directly into the camera lens. We stared at each other. Man and something else. Something that shouldn't exist, but did. Something that recognized what a camera was, what I was, what this moment meant. Then it reached out. One massive hand, finger spread, extending toward the camera. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but watch as those fingers, too long, too thick, but proportioned like human fingers, reached closer, closer, until they filled the frame. And then it spoke. I know how that sounds. I know. But I heard it. The camera's microphone captured it. A single word, guttural and low and formed with effort, like vocal cords not meant for human speech forcing themselves into human patterns. Go. The camera screen went black. The memory card corrupted. Or the battery died. Or something interfered with the electronics. I don't know. What I know is that I lay there in that log for another 3 hours, not moving, not breathing, waiting for death or discovery or some explanation that never came. When I finally crawled out, the forest was empty. The sun was setting. I was alone. I walked for 3 days. I don't remember most of it. Park rangers found me on a service road, 12 miles from our camp, still clutching the camera, unable to speak. They said I was hypothermic, dehydrated, incoherent. They said I kept repeating the same phrase over and over. They let me go. They let me go. Search and rescue teams combed the area for 2 weeks. They found our base camp abandoned but intact. They found scattered equipment. They found my backpack, Alan's notebook, Stephanie's headphones, all arranged in a neat pile in that clearing where we'd first seen them. But they never found Marcus, Stephanie, or Alan. No bodies. No clothes. No sign of struggle. Nothing. The official report was filed. The families were notified. The case was closed. But I have the recording. The authorities reviewed it, made copies, and I can only imagine what conversations happened in whatever rooms they took it to. They told me it showed inconclusive evidence of wildlife encounter, and that releasing it would be irresponsible and potentially dangerous. When I pressed them, "What did you see? What was on that recording?" They looked at me with a kind of exhausted pity and said, "The same thing you saw. The same thing we can't explain." I still watch it. All 437 times. I watch the coordination, the intelligence, the moment when that creature looked into my camera and recognized what it was. I watch that hand reach toward me. I listened to that single word over and over, trying to decode what it meant. Was it mercy? Was it a command? Was it a warning? Go. Go where? Go and never come back? Go and tell others? Go and remember? I don't know. I'll never know. What I do know is that I can't go back into forests anymore. Not deep ones. Not isolated ones. Because every tree feels like it's watching. Every shadow feels like it's waiting. And late at night, when I'm trying to sleep, I hear them. Those low vocalizations, that harmonic communication, calling to each other in language I can't understand. And sometimes, just sometimes, I hear voices I recognize. Marcus laughing about narrative structure. Stephanie complaining about bad audio. Alan muttering about behavioral patterns. Their voices coming from somewhere deep in the trees, from somewhere I can't see, from somewhere I can't reach. Are they still alive? Are they being held? Are they part of something now that I can't comprehend? Or is it my mind, broken and desperate, creating sounds to fill the silence of their absence? I don't have answers. I just have the recording and the memory and this crushing certainty that I was allowed to leave for a reason. That something out there decided I should survive, should carry this story, should remember. They're still out there. In those forests. In places we think we've mapped and understood but haven't. They're watching. They're waiting. They're more intelligent than we want to believe. And I think they remember me too. Sometimes I wake up and find footprints outside my apartment. Massive impressions in the dirt of the garden bed beneath my window. 16 inches long. 5 toes. The same prints I saw circling our camp that night. I tell myself it's impossible. I live in the city. I'm on the 3rd floor. There are cameras everywhere, security systems, people. But the prints are always there when it rains. If you've made it this far, if you've listened to everything I've told you, I need you to do something. Hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel. And most importantly, comment below. Tell me if you've ever felt watched in the woods. Tell me if you've ever heard something that shouldn't speak, try to form words. Tell me about the experiences you've had that you can't explain, that authorities dismissed, that family and friends refuse to believe. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me I'm not insane. Because every day I feel less certain of what's real and what's memory, what's trauma and what's truth. Every day the line blurs a little more. But one thing I know for absolute certain, I heard that word. I saw that hand. I was released when I should have been taken. And somewhere out there, in trees so old and deep they remember when the world was different, my friends might still be alive. Or something wearing their voices is calling to me. Either way, I can't go back. I can't save them. I can't even prove they existed beyond photographs and memories. All I can do is tell you what happened. All I can do is share the last recording and hope that someone somewhere believes me.